How's it going, everyone, and welcome to an E3 2019 discussion video where I'm going to be going into detail about my most anticipated releases that we are going to be seeing at this year's E3 conference. So if you aren't informed by now, the E3 conference this year is going to be starting on June 11th on Tuesday all the way to June 13th on Thursday. And with the next generation of consoles on the brink of release, this year's E3 conference is looking up to be probably one of the most game-changing and innovative conferences we've had yet. So starting off my most anticipated games that we'll be seeing at this year's E3, we have Cyberpunk 2077. Now this has been that game that's kind of been behind closed curtains ever since we got the announcement trailer 6 years ago, and it was only up until last year's E3 conference that we actually got an in-depth look at the world space and the gameplay mechanics that this game has to offer, and me along with many other people were blown away by what we saw. So along with some new gameplay, I'm also crossing my fingers that we get an official release date for this game since we don't have an official release date yet. CD Projekt Red has had very closed doors on that information, but I think the best estimate for a release date right now is probably sometime in 2020, maybe mid to late 2020 at most. This game has likely been in development for over 8 years at this point, so I'm hopeful that CD Projekt Red is finally tying up any loose ends with this game and getting ready to release it sometime next year, maybe sometime late this year if we're lucky. Now the next game is a game that actually got announced very recently, and that game is Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now something you guys might not know about me is that before all of the Bethesda fandom, I was actually really into Call of Duty, going back to some of the first games to come out. But I really felt like I fell off the track quite a bit after Black Ops 2 when the series started to take on this very futuristic approach, but now our cries have finally been answered, and Infinity Ward and Activision are finally giving us what we wanted all these years. Now because of the game's heavy focus on real-world warfare, the game is likely to and actually has already stirred up some controversy on the SJW wing of the community, and I really hope Activision does not take their side in this because a real feel Call of Duty is something that we've wanted all these years, and for a game that's meant for adults to be censored and made kid-friendly, I don't think is justified at all. But apart from all that, we were also given some very exciting information about this upcoming COD game, like cross-play support between PC and consoles, a new engine that has apparently been in the works for over 5 years now, which keep in mind goes back to the days of Advanced Warfare and Ghosts, as well as the fact that there's not going to be a season pass for this game, which is something that was pretty much commonplace for every COD game that we saw every year. Now of course I can safely assume that there is going to be some form of microtransactions or paid DLC content within this game, because we still have to remember that this is Activision, and I have no doubt in my mind that there's going to be some sort of paid content within Modern Warfare, especially because we're not going to be seeing that traditional season pass that we usually see before the release of every COD game. But from everything that we've seen and heard so far about this game, I have a very good feeling that this is going to be the first Call of Duty game in a long while that actually ends up living up to the hype. Now the next game we've seen quite a bit of so far, but we're expected to see even more at this year's E3, Borderlands 3. Now Borderlands 3 was revealed at this year's PAX East, and just a month ago we got an in-depth look at the gameplay in Borderlands 3, so we already have a pretty good idea of what this game is going to be like. But in a tweet from Randy Pitchford, he says, Borderlands fans have a lot to look forward to at E3. We'll be showing new gameplay, a new Vault Hunter, and a new planet. Attendees will also have a chance to play Borderlands 3 at the 2K booth. We may even have a surprise or two up our sleeves. Excited. So clearly Randy is quite hyping up this year's E3 for Gearbox, so I'm really excited for what we're going to be seeing. It seems like Borderlands 3 still has quite a bit to show that we haven't seen yet, and he also says that they may have a surprise or two up their sleeves, so there may be even stuff non-related to Borderlands that they'll be showing at this year's conference, so I'm very excited. So this next game, I'm sure you guys are well aware of at this point, The Outer Worlds, which is being developed by Obsidian Entertainment and published by Private Division. Yes, Obsidian Entertainment, the creators of Fallout New Vegas, and as well as some of the original games in the series. But I'm also a big fan of sci-fi, so when I heard that Obsidian was making this game, I got pretty excited. It was revealed at the Game Awards late last year, and just a few months after that, Game Informer put out a commentary slash gameplay slash developer interview for the game, but we're expecting to see a lot more of this game at E3 and even a confirmed release date. But the devs do confirm that the game is for sure coming out this year. We just aren't sure when, since they haven't given an exact release date. But I am all for what this game has to offer. You can clearly see that it has those elements of Borderlands and BioShock Bioshock in there, as well as carrying over the role-playing elements and dark humor that we all know from Fallout. I'm really hoping that we get to see a lot more of the world space, the weapons that we can find, getting a much closer look into the corporate empires that own the galaxy, and just everything in between. So I am definitely looking forward to this one. Now, this next one isn't confirmed for E3, but more rumored, and is not an upcoming game by any means, but I thought I'd throw it in here anyway, a Red Dead Redemption 2 PC port. Now, this is something that a lot of people have been waiting for quite a while now, including myself, being somebody who switched to PC gaming and hasn't really returned to console ever since. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game that I've really been wanting to sink my teeth into, but haven't been able to, simply because the game is a console exclusive, and because of the technical downgrade on console compared to PC, there just really hasn't been anything calling me back to console, which makes me extremely hopeful for a PC port sometime this year or maybe even early next year, since this game's graphical capabilities on console alone are just crazy looking. So I'd be really curious to see how this game looks and functions on a high-spec machine compared to a baseline console. And because PC gaming is a lot more popular and recognized now compared to 2010, when the original Red Dead Redemption came out also as a console exclusive, I feel like it would just be a really big financial blow on Rockstar's end if they didn't end up doing a PC port for Red Dead Redemption 2, since the amount of money that they would make from it is just immeasurable. So I really hope Rockstar considers it if they aren't already working on it right now, which I'm sure they are. And even though it hasn't been outright confirmed by Rockstar, the leaks and rumors that have been going around for the past few months just seem way too relevant in my opinion, so I have no doubt in my mind that they are working on the PC port and may even announce it at this year's E3. On top of that, I think it would also be pretty cool if we got to see a 2010 Red Dead Redemption PC port, since to this day that game still has not been ported over to PC, so I feel like this would be Rockstar's chance to finally try and pull it off. And finally, for my most anticipated games of E3 2019, we have Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Now, I was a little disappointed to discover that this game wasn't the open world RPG that it was rumored to be, but rather a more linear open world action-adventure game, since those games really are my bread and butter, but also because an open world RPG Star Wars game would just be absolutely amazing in my opinion. But I've also found quite an interest in the much older Knights of the Old Republic games, which I may actually go and try before I pick up this one. But the game starts off shortly after the events of Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, and the set release date is November 15th, 2019 for all platforms. And I imagine we're going to be seeing quite a bit of gameplay as well, since we really haven't seen any of that yet, so clearly EA is trying to save the Fallen Order spotlight for E3 this year, so I'm really excited to see what will be shown as far as the story progression goes, as well as the force powers and lightsaber focused combat. But anyway, that's going to wrap up my most anticipated games for E3 2019. Of course, if I don't have anything going on E3 week, I will be live streaming whatever I can, as well as the Bethesda conference, which I'm not really expecting anything too surprising from them apart from what we already know. And I can also safely assume that Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 will not be mentioned, since it's just way too early for them to talk about those games. Though it would be pretty cool if we got a brand new IP from a studio under Bethesda Softworks wing. So whatever they have going on for E3, I'll try to live stream that as well. So if you are interested in tuning into that, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you know when I'm live streaming. And also join my Discord in the description, since that's where I'm mostly active if I'm not active here on YouTube. So if you need to ask me any questions, I would go there. But until then, I'll be seeing all of you next time.